the only podcast that skips apple season and goes right to Halloween. This is Bombers.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bombers. I am Bomber number 5, Anthony aka Deg, and with always here is Bomber number 3, Xiaber aka Xiaber. How you doing?
That's me. I'm doing good.
That is you. And special guest we have with us today is Alexandra of Flamma Mysteries. Hi.
Hi there, how are you?
Doing great. Glad to have you here. Very excited about this episode.
Hey, I'm super excited to be here. Help you kick off some of the spooky season.
Yeah, we're right on the edge of spooky season. It's already pumpkin season, and now we're getting into spooky season, so this is exciting.
We just gotta get through Guest Timber here first.
Yeah, Guest Timber is going pretty strong for now. I don't know, did you want to do a brief overview of introductory stuff, or do you want to just roll into it?
Who are you? Why should we care that you're on our podcast?
Come on, Xiaber.
Sure. No, I will happily do that. I mean, I'll warn you now, like, you give me the chance and I will just talk your ear off. So feel free to cut me at any time. So my name is Alexandra. I'm Alexandra Front Clinton. You can find me on Amazon and on DriveThruRPG and now on other podcast networks, wherever you listen. Everything except for pretty much Apple, because I can't get my account to authenticate. I am an author, a tabletop RPG creator, and now audio drama podcaster. I have been a paid professional ghost hunter, believe it or not. That's sort of my thing, and why I'm here today, because I am a ghost hunter who wrote a ghost hunting RPG and turned it into a ghost hunting fiction podcast, which is all a spin-off of a ghost hunting novel series. So again, spooky season, here we come.
Rolling in strong into spooky season. Yeah, it's very exciting. I have a copy of your Deittman Files RPG. I've got your first novel. I'm excited for the second one that's coming up that I'm sure we'll hear more about in the show here. So this is like a fun moment for me, certainly.
Hey, I know you were one of my Kickstarter backers, and I greatly appreciate it. Definitely something that I couldn't have done if we didn't have community support from people like you.
So by RPG book, like, are you saying like an actual novel or like a tabletop RPG kind of book?
Both. Two separate things.
Okay.
The novel did not go to Kickstarter. First one I published in 2020. And I'm sure we'll cover this whenever you guys are ready. But the second one, the tabletop RPG, did go to Kickstarter. So it is a tabletop RPG system and setting. And called the Deittman Files, and that is sort of the universe that I'm building, is the Deittman Files universe. That was released actually last year. So 2020 was my novel. Last year was our Kickstarter with our tabletop RPG. This year is both the podcast and my second novel. So we're just going to keep rolling. And I'd like to say I'm going to take a break next year, but I'm sure I'll find something to do.
We all know there's no break.
Sounds all enticing. I guess first we should get through the normal stuff, like everyone's favorite part of the show, Bombtastic News, where Xiaber, aka me, talks about the news that's bombtastic. As normal, you can find us on our website, thisisbombers.com, where you can see information all about us, what we do. You can see our podcast, links to our Discord, link in description below also, where you can join us, talk with us, join clubs. Recently, the Album of the Week clubs started back up. We get to, this past weekend. So come in and listen to the album that our lovely friend Oshi has taken control of.
Yeah, and on the back of that, we also have, Xiaber, I don't know if you saw, put in the work to bring back our game club. So check out the game club if you're interested in playing video games with us and critiquing them and talking about our experiences month to month.
That sounds boring. I think songs are a lot easier to deal with.
You're got your
I am
large,
correct.
Your large album vinyl collection, so I guess we'll allow it.
Yeah, I was actually listening to the greatest hits of Blink-182 while making dinner today.
Okay, good choice.
Yeah. Also, you can see us on Twitch where we regularly stream things. Tonight, as in last Thursday, we are going to be streaming Phasmophobia with our guest Alexandra. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited. You can also see us do other things like Minecraft, which everyone is super into right now. And finally, you can get our Twitter if you ever want to see updates about how our stuff is going. And also, if you really want to give us some money because of how awesome we are, you can go to our Patreon. You can become a acquaintance, friend, best friend, or executive bomb-ducer, and you get perks like being able to listen to our pre- and post shows where we just record ourselves as we're setting up the show or just a bit after the show as we, cool down and such. You can be a friend or above to get that. Shoutouts to our current best friends, Rob, and our friends Haley, Aaron, and Reaper, and our current acquaintances. Thank you for your support.
Yo, we love you. Thank you. Hey, Xiaber, you mentioned Minecraft. Did you know that we actually have started a open public Minecraft server that basically anyone can join through the server browser?
I did. For some reason, I haven't muted the Bombcast channel yet.
You fool. Well, that is available as well. You can join the Discord for the server information to play Minecraft with us. Let's roll on now to this week's upcoming releases. Today, the 19th, Monday, Return to Monkey Island is coming to the Switch and PC, which is a return to the Monkey Island series from LucasArts Gaming. So if you're a fan of those old, goofy, really fun humor in those, the classic point-and-click adventures, there you go. There's another one.
I do like point-and-click adventures.
Yes, they're point-and-click adventures.
Yes.
There was what was it? It was one of the Monkey Island, Tales of Monkey Island, that's what it's called, which is more of a Telltale story-based, they're kind of point-and-clicky, but it was more Telltale, because I think it was actually put out by Telltale.
Probably.
This is actually LucasArts. Tomorrow, Tuesday, September 20th, Soulstice is coming to PlayStation 5, the Series X, Xbox, and PC. This is a cool-looking game that I didn't know about until I was putting together this list, and now I'm kind of interested in buying it. It's very like Team Ninja Platinum Games, hack and slash, Darksiders look to it even. You play as a character whose sister was killed or sacrificed, very Full Metal Alchemist style, bound to the soul, hence Soulstice, of the sword-wielding, quote-unquote, main character, but it's one of those two characters in one. I'm not describing it very great, but definitely go check it out.
It looks like he's wielding the Buster Sword.
Yeah, she has got this giant sword, so it's pretty cool looking. Check it out if you're into those kinds of hack-and-slash games.
It's got that dark, gritty, rainy, Dark Souls kind of atmosphere, but it's not a Dark Souls game, it's a hack-and-slash.
Yeah, and it has, like, the graphical, aesthetics of it are kind of like a muted Borderlands almost. It's kind of a little got that cell shadingness going to it. So it's cool looking. Check it out. On Thursday, the 22nd, Serial Cleaners, with an S, Cleaners. Serial Cleaners is coming to PS4, PS5, Series X, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is the sequel to the game Serial Cleaner, which was part of our game club, what was that, last year, I believe? You basically are a cleaner for, like, mob hits and stuff like that. So it's sort of like a puzzle game where you go around and are cleaning up and trying not to get caught by the cops and all of that kind of stuff. But this one, you'll be playing as multiple different cleaners instead of just the one cleaner from the first game. Speaking of sequels, on the same day, Slime Rancher 2 is coming to the Xbox and PC. Very cool. I don't know if anybody's seen Slime Rancher here, but it's a fun speed game, at least. There's some really cool speed runs of it.
All I know is that you just ranch some slimes.
Yeah, it's a first person. You go around collecting slimes, and you have to grow fruit to make your slimes breed so that you can have more slimes to unlock Metroidvania-style different gates and etc.
Oh, I did not know that latter part.
Yep. You use the collection of slimes to collect other types of slimes to progress in the game through gates. So a lot of the fun speed tech is using different slimes to like skip the gated content. It's pretty cool. You should check out a run of it.
Because I'll have to. Well, what's going on Friday?
Friday, the 23rd, the first game I will list here, because there are 2 of them this day as well, is Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival for the Nintendo Switch. Taiko is the drum. Taiko no Tatsujin is the drum game, the rhythm game.
Yeah.
Which I have Taiko no Tatsujin Drum and Fun, which was the first Switch release, and I have a drum for it. If you're interested in watching that on stream at some point, let me know, and I'll actually work on getting the sync, because it is not synced on my television. But it's very fun, a lot of good music, and the actual gameplay is quite enjoyable. And
it's got like Megalovania in it.
Probably, I think so, actually. Unlike like DDR or anything like that, I can actually play it because it doesn't ruin my knees. Also on Friday is Shovel Knight Dig for the Switch, PC, and iPhone, iOS, which is basically Shovel Knight and Spelunky or SteamWorld Dig or those types of games mashed up together. So it's SteamWorld Dig with a Shovel Knight skin, essentially.
So it's not... Okay. So it's like it's not an actual Shovel Knight-esque game?
No, it is. I mean, it's a Shovel Knight game, but the gameplay is more like SteamWorld Dig or Spelunky or those types of like roguelite digging exploration style games.
I've lost interest then.
Yeah, well, I'm sure someone out there is interested in that. Those are this week's upcoming releases. Let us know if there's any that you're interested in picking up. Yeah, or if there's any that you're interested in us maybe picking up and playing. That takes care of the normal weekly items. Now we get to the very exciting part where we talk to Alexandra about all of her cool ghost hunting and RPG and book writing and experiences. So
yeah, it's like you could have a whole podcast just off of that.
It's true. I mean, if I wanted to talk about that stuff, I totally could. Instead, I decide to fictionalize it and create a story.
Which sounds great. I have had on the back burners a project idea of wanting to put together a radio drama, audio drama, podcast drama, whatever you call them these days.
Drama.
And then I heard you were putting yours together, and I was like, I gotta talk to her about that at some point.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I am very much of the mind that I want to share my knowledge and my experience, and if I made mistakes and can help people not make those mistakes, all the better. It's one of those like karma things. I feel like if you help put out the good energy, especially as a creator, then hopefully it comes back. And honestly, I feel like so far that's worked out for me, but with all of the support I've had from like vastly different communities. So yeah, anytime, feel free to just pick my brain. Happy to.
Yeah, well, why don't you just start telling us about your projects?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. All right, so as I said, my name is Alexandra, and back in 2020, I released my first novel, Echoes and Ashes, a paranormal mystery. So I'll be completely honest with you, that was something I did for NaNoWriMo, that's National Novel Writing Month, for those who might not know. Back in 2016, I finished the bulk of it, and I have... I have a terrible problem where, like, I will just about almost finish something, and then I get to the very end, and I'm like, I'm done. There's probably some, ADD issues going on there that I've just decided I don't want to get diagnosed because I don't want to know the answer. But yeah, so I wrote the first novel almost entirely in 2016, and then I sat on it for like 3 years. And it was about, I want to say, start of November maybe, that in 2019, that my husband said, so like, are you ever going to finish that or what? So that's a really good point. And I had about 12,000 words to go, and then the book was done. So in the end, it ended up being something like, I don't know, 82,000 words or something like that. So I had very nearly finished it already and just needed to like write a few connecting chapters, and it took me that long to actually sit down and do it. So I busted that out with the intention of getting it published before my 30th birthday. That was my whole goal, was that I had like 2 months to go and I needed to get it out. So I had some people looking at it, acting as editors, cleaning it up. And I'll be completely honest, in the end it could have been cleaner. It absolutely could have been. But I had put a goal on myself, and at that point I was like, well, there's no turning back now. So I did it, and I'm glad that I did, but there are things that I would do differently. Which is why, now that I'm putting the second book out, I'm actually taking those lessons to heart and, trying to be better. So the first book, as I said, it's called Echoes and Ashes, a paranormal mystery. It follows a team of investigators who go to a haunted asylum for a long weekend trip. And I prefer to write in third person limited, which is essentially what the character knows, and that's because I write mysteries. And I feel like a lot of mysteries don't work as well if they're the kind where you can know everything going on at all times from all points of views. So some people really don't care for that. But that's my preference. And the main character of the first book, his name is Eli Gehring. He is a postcog, which a postcognitive is in psychic land and paranormal land. That is someone who can see bits of the past or get feelings of bits of the past, usually when touching something.
Like psychometry, I think is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Postcog deals a lot with psychometry. So
Nice.
Postcog literally means like past seeing, pretty much.
Right.
So that's the idea, is that he sees these things that he calls echoes, which are get it, echoes and ashes, haha.
Yeah.
But
tying it all together.
Yes, he sees these echoes. They're residual energy. They're not necessarily spirits. He doesn't know if people are dead.
Impressions, maybe?
Impressions, yes. It is usually traumatic incidents because it leaves behind energy. And it is that whole idea that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So what happens when you have a particularly strong emotional situation that leaves behind energy? And I kind of am of the mind in real life that, big traumatic events do leave behind energy. So anyhow, this guy is really down on his luck, loses his job. He had been on an antidepressant that allows him to suppress these echoes, simply because, certain medications, chemical imbalances, hey, life. Then American medical system comes into play. Yeah, and he can't get that anymore. Yay! So his life spirals out of control because he's seeing these terrible things, and it's really hard to get his life back on track, which puts him into accepting this gig, ghost hunting. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into details because that's the plot from then on out.
The book.
Yeah, please read the book. It's a quick read. Yeah, it's a quick read. I like to think it's a fun read. Nice to sit down with a cup of nice warm black tea and enjoy on a stormy night. I actually created custom tea blends on Adagio for my books, so if there are tea drinkers out there, you can actually totally find teas that I made for these.
Apparently, I need to try that.
Yes, the first one, I will tell you, the first one is quite strong, because it is it's a black bourbon based tea. So it is smoky, it is bourbony, it is strong. And that is because of the other main character, Ash, Echoes and Ashes. Haha. So yeah, that is the first book. The second book, which comes out on Halloween, follows a different narrator named Catherine Burke. She is an American woman who recently found out that she inherited a castle back in Ireland when her mother died. So she moves back. Her grandmother's still in the castle, and they call it the Donovan Manor. And she's decided that she's going to renovate this manor and turn it into a bed and breakfast because she doesn't really have a whole lot of other stuff tying her down. So hey, why not do this? Make her own legacy.
What better place for a nice bed and breakfast than a castle in Ireland?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be all of our dreams? I would love that.
If only.
Yeah. So I'm very much Irish, and I still have family over there. So for me, it was a little bit of something to tie into my family and heritage.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a castle. It's an old castle. An old castle. They got ghosts. So there are issues. She's not feeling fantastically comfortable in her home, and she doesn't know if she can actually turn this into a bed and breakfast. So a friend of her convinces her to call up Dr. Deittman, who it is his team in the first book. So it follows some of his crew in the second book as well. So Dr. Deittman in this universe is a renowned parapsychologist who has made it his life's work to seek out those extraordinary individuals who might be the key into his studies regarding the other side. That is almost word from word from the intro of my podcast, and I've heard it so many freaking times that now it lives in my brain. So yeah, that is book 1. Book 2, book 2 comes out on Halloween. The first book is very heavily influenced by the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. The layout is very similar to it. It's built in, I think it's called the Breckenridge style, which was a very specific asylum style that was meant to maximize airflow and sunlight. So it's sort of built in that, and I actually had a layout created, like a map, which I put into the Kickstarter book. So you can actually check that out in the book. And in book 2, that is very heavily based off of Lep Castle, which is supposedly one of the most haunted places in the world. I had the pleasure of doing an overnight investigation there in 2015, I believe. And then I slept on the balcony where this supposed demonic elemental was said to have been seen. And it was the best sleep I had that whole trip. It was fantastic. I slept like a freaking log. It was amazing.
On a balcony.
Well, I mean, there was a bed on the balcony.
Oh, okay.
But
I was like,
they're like, ooh, this is where this demonic elemental is seen. Are you sure you want to sleep there? And I'm like, I have bronchitis. I will sleep wherever you put me. So yeah, it was a good time. It was a great time. I met some really great people. I woke up and the owner of the castle made us a full Irish breakfast. It was like one of the best experiences of my life. So I took some of the stories from that, fictionalized some of it, created a new castle, a new layout, which the exterior is very based off Chillingham Castle in England. But that layout is actually also in the Kickstarter book. So if people flip to the Case of the Donovan Manor, I have altered some of it from the story, but there is some artwork and reference in there because I had already been working on that book whenever I was working on the Kickstarter. So those are the 2 books. The podcast, the Deittman Files, a paranormal mystery podcast, which again is on most major podcasting sources except for Apple. It follows Dr. Deittman and his team. Well, I should actually say it follows mostly Dr. Deittman's team. Dr. Deittman is not present. He does the narration in the beginning and the end. Dr. Deittman is actually my father. It has been a great experience having him do some narration for me. But the bulk of the episodes, each one is its own investigation that follows primarily the investigators JB, who was named after a backer from my Kickstarter out in Australia. He was my biggest backer and really into it and really wanted me to send him some stuff. So I said, yes, I will absolutely do this. And unfortunately, there were issues with getting stuff shipped because of COVID restrictions. So I said, I'm so sorry. Can I make it up to you? I'm writing a podcast. Can I, I don't know, name the character after you or something? So we settled on JB for Jay Blackwood. And then it follows the other character of Ash Dementieva, who is a main character in the book series. We have some other guest investigators. We have people from all across the country and probably about to be international as soon as we finish this next episode. It's been great.
So the podcast you said is episodic in content?
It is. So the whole thing, it's 13 episodes. It's a 13-episode audio drama. So each episode is its own investigation. Over 13 episodes, there's sort of a little bit of a greater story going on. Our intention is to leave it in a way that concludes season 1, but we could perhaps do a season 2. We don't know yet if we will. We want to see the success and if people like it, or if they're like, no, it's a bust, because it's a lot of time and effort. And if people are really not feeling it, then I'm not going to force my friends to continue to do this with me. It has definitely been a passion project. It has been a lot of hours. From all people who are just essentially volunteering with me to do this, people who are helping me edit and write, people who are taking time out to sit through like line reading sessions, and then we essentially have a mobile podcasting unit where we take our studio around and have people record on our mics if possible, so that we can try to get like everything to be even, because as you guys know, different mics sound drastically different when you put them together. Yeah.
Consistency is not easy to get when we're not centrally located.
Yes.
We've actually found out that a Rock Band microphone sounds really awesome.
It does.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, weirdly enough, we had Shay was bomber number 1 using just a Rock Band microphone from like the Xbox 360, and it sounded better than.
It still sounds better than my current microphone.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's wild! I would never have thought that. But yeah, crazy. I mean, so you know that, and when you try to put it together and you're trying to make it sound like an episode, like a narration episode, it is difficult. You can drastically hear the different quality, and like I've had times where I've said, I am so sorry guys, but this is not usable audio. Like, we need to redo this. Some people have gone ahead and actually just double purchased the same mic setup that I use, just because they got tired of waiting on me to come to them. So they just said,
that's really nice.
I'm gonna get my own. I know, I am so thankful for that. So but yeah. So 13 episodes. We are on the second episode right now that aired on Friday. It comes out every 2 weeks. I'm sorry, when this airs, the next episode 3 will be dropping this week. Yes, that'll be dropping this week. So the way we have done it is that every third episode is a slight deviation from the regular format. And this is, I'm going into this a little more than I really meant to, but this is because, if you're interested in writing this, you can learn from some of my experiences. The way we did it is essentially, it's conversations. It is people talking and narrating scenes, so kind of what they're seeing. The thing is that we don't actually have like a narrator, in the background, like setting the scene for you. And that was one of those like learning things for us, that we had to learn how to have the characters discuss what was around them and try to make it sound natural, so that you understood what was happening as the listener without them just telling you, yes, what a lovely red roof that is. Like, it doesn't sound natural.
Just make it like an anime where they do describe everything in conversations. It's really weird.
I was, weirdly enough, just last night, I randomly put on an episode of the old Batman the Animated Series cartoon, and I was so impressed with how their scripts are written like the old noir mystery radio dramas.
That show's just amazing.
But you know what? So I have my team. I have some very talented people, talented writers helping me, and all of them, one did better than the others. The others, and they know, we've discussed this. They started, and they didn't get very far before they said, I can't do this. Like, this is a lot harder than trying to write, prose. You can be the world's best novelist, but writing a script is drastically different from that. And not everybody can do it. That is the one thing that I have found, is it is not for everybody. But what's been really helpful is my team will sometimes come up with the episode. They'll get it started and help set the scene, and then I'm able to sort of take it and run with it and finish the episode. So even if people haven't been able to go through and finish writing, the collaborative aspect has really helped. Now, every third episode, we deviate from that format a little bit. So episode 3, for example, is a journal. So it is, we have one specific, the guy who wrote it, actually, one of my good friends, Terry, he went through and wrote it all as a journal. So he is reading the journal entries, which was also its own sort of can of worms, trying to then narrate it from a journal. Like, how do you describe the scene from a journal entry and rationalize why is this guy writing something when he's running through the woods? Like, you had to try to get it to work.
Yeah.
So
did you just have like one person read all of that, or did you?
Yes.
Like, was there any? Okay.
So what we did when a conversation took place, I think the way we wrote it was he said something like, "In a journal, I'll try to recall how the conversation went," and then that he would go, "Get back here," he said, whatever like that. He would go back and forth, kind of more narrating it as you would kind of see in a book. But it was a very interesting experience to do. And then episode 6, which we are working on right now, is going sort of back to the standard format, but it's actually set in the past with Dr. Deittman. 1 second here.
We'll get this in editing, right, Xiaber?
Nah, we'll keep it. It's fine.
Nah, come on.
Sorry about that. I don't want you to hear bags rustling in the background. That's all.
Oh, that's fine.
So episode 6 is actually from Dr. Deittman's point of view, and my intention is actually that I'm going to have my brother doing the voice of Dr. Deittman, since my dad is the elder Deittman, then my brother will be young Dr. Deittman. I'm very excited for that.
That's cool. That's fun.
It's unfortunately he lives in Philly, so trying to get that to work now is we'll make it
fun.
Work. Yeah. And then episode 9 is essentially found footage. So it is going back and forth, sort of with the standard format, but it is all characters who are not part of the series otherwise. And it is supposed to be sort of them recording test sessions without getting into what the plot of that episode is. So it's been really fun to go ahead and try to mix it up a little bit so it's not the same thing every single time. Some people have been great at doing the writing for it. Some people, struggled, but still gave it an attempt, and that was what mattered.
I mean, that's a good experience to try doing that stuff.
Yeah.
The journal one episode reminds me of the Daily Dracula that I'm reading, where it shows Dracula based on what day a journal entry is written, because all of Dracula is just journal entries. And so it is interesting seeing it took 2 days for this person to write what happened because they had to experience first.
Yes, exactly. And it's them narrating. They are writing in real time, but talking about something that happened to them previously. But something like I'll say that one, like the Magnus Archives, for example, was a major influence for that episode. Like, I'm a big fan of that. So we have lots of like little Easter eggs for people who are fans of essentially the paranormal genre. Like, I will throw in a name where you could be like, oh, like, clearly, she's a fan of that. Like, I threw that in there.
What you did there.
Yeah, a little I see what you did there. And it's supposed to be, not me trying to capitalize on their success, but more of like an homage to all of the things that I love and that have inspired me. Which, this is then a great time for me to get into the last piece of the things that I've written. The Deittman Files RPG. So the Deittman Files RPG, wrote that over COVID time because since we couldn't go ghost hunting, we decided to bring ghost hunting to us.
Only
it
logical
uses
solution.
Obviously, and like you can only take your equipment around your own home so many times. I live in a townhouse. Yeah, so essentially, when I hear a bump in the night, it's probably my townhouse neighbors. Like, it's not
I get that.
natural. But yeah, so we decided to go ahead and write this tabletop, which uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system. So for anybody who might not be familiar, it is a 2d6 system where you essentially roll the dice and then add your modifier. 6 through 0 is a fail. You miss, it doesn't work, bad stuff happens, etc. 7 through 9 is a minor success where, yes, you might have succeeded in kicking down that door, but you're going to injure yourself while you do it. And then a 10 plus is absolutely you succeed. Sometimes you can actually go over where you can say like a 12 and above is like the mightiest of mighty successes and you blew that freaking door off of the hinges. You know what I mean? So something like that. With that, go ahead.
I think it's a failure, success at cost,
yes.
Success and major success.
Correct.
Or how they define them.
Yes,
So
yes.
Something like
So
that.
just don't get boxcars. or Snake Eyes.
No.
Snake Eyes, that's it. Don't get
Yes,
Snake Eyes.
that is the worst.
You won
That
Boxcars.
is the equivalent of like a nat one. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I started playing a couple different systems over COVID that used that, and we really liked it because we felt that you could tell a story with that system a little bit better than you could with some other crunchier systems.
It's very dependent on actual like storyteller, GM, DM, whatever you want to call the game runner, and players coming together and collaborating to tell a story together. Yeah.
Absolutely. And online, this kind of system, we weren't using a map or anything. We weren't even like sharing screens really. It was very theater of the mind. And we just found that it was more flexible than some of the other systems. So that was how we landed on this for us. I was actually able to reach out to the creators, and one of the creators, I believe it's a husband-wife duo. The wife, Meg, responded to me, and we had a nice little chat, and I got their blessing to use their logo and everything, all like a-okay there. And a nice chat with her, basically being a woman in the game design field presents some challenges. There are some things there that not everybody faces, and I faced it, I will be honest, right away when I was posting to like the powered by the apocalypse community. Right off the bat, there were some things that bounced back very quickly that not all of the other creators were getting. So, she reached out to me and we had a nice talk. It was enlightening and also encouraging. So, yeah, we went ahead with it. We published it. In the book, there are 18 classes. 3 of them were actually Kickstarter classes. We didn't put them in originally, but as we started getting success, in the end, we were like over 400% funded.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a success. I probably could have set some higher goals, but I really just set exactly what I needed to make the project happen, and that was it. 3 of the classes we added on and had some guest writers. And yeah, the classes are broken up into 2 sections, the psychics and the investigators. So in the world of the Deittman Files, and it's a running theme with the books and everything, you have psychics and investigators, and psychics are all encompassing. These are people who have like extraordinary abilities. It's not always necessarily, your telekinetic, which that is a psychic in my book, but like the exorcist also counts as one because they have special abilities,
Some sort of power of some sort.
Power, yes, that is essentially the magic system for this. And there are 8 classes of the psychics, and then there were 7 for the investigators. And these range from things like, and I'm not looking at my list right now, but it's like, let's see, the clairvoyance, the medium, the postcog, the pyrokinetic, the exorcist, the telepath, the telekinetic. Did I say that already? I don't know. And there is something else there that I'm just totally not thinking of right now. And then with the investigators, there's like the researcher. Hey, yeah, let's just pull up the book. That would be helpful. Yeah, go ahead. If you could just read those off for me really quick, because I probably should have been more prepared. And, I had that, but I didn't.
Like, it seems like I can totally see like having 7 or 8 psych people, but like coming up with 7 investigator like separation kind of things, that's a lot harder for me to think about.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yes.
Let's see. Psychics. Clairvoyant, postcog, telepath, psychograph, medium, telekinetic, exorcist, pyrokinetic.
And those are...
So
with the pyrokinetic, I mentioned people can swap out for other, abilities. If you want to do lightning, you can do lightning. It's just pyrokinetic.
Yeah.
We actually, I played with the cryokinetic, absolutely. So things like that, and people can mix and match. And then we have the investigators.
Researcher, charlatan, skeptic, benefactor, engineer, muscle, intern, hunter, occultist, spirit.
Yes.
That's
so
9.
those last 3 were the Kickstarter classes.
Okay.
So they sort of are on their own thing. They're technically investigators because, like, the occultist didn't actually have power. He sort of took it. The hunter doesn't really have power. He goes and kills those who do. And then the spirit is right in between, because the spirit is a very special class with very special rules for people who want to play on hard mode. But a lot of these classes are based off of characters that are in the book and podcast, so you don't
Nice.
need to have read any of that to be able to play the game. But it's a little supplemental bit. But yeah, there are the moves. We had a ton of fun coming up with the moves and everything. If you look at the abilities, they have a lot of fun names, which again, you will see references to other, pop culture things that I
Well, that's
love.
always fun to do.
Yeah, it was a blast. And none of the names are really serious at all.
Well, like, I imagine, like, I don't know anything about the skeptic, but my instant thought was just someone going, "I don't believe in ghosts," and the ghost just disappearing.
Actually, okay, that one is actually called Clap If You Don't Believe, I'm pretty sure. There's also
Nice.
Build That Wall, which is a throwing up a psychic wall that only you believe in.
Psychics, am I right?
Oh, are you
that
saying
is a
that?
move, yes.
Are you saying that mime isn't a psychic class here?
It is if you're the skeptic. My favorite class of the investigators, believe it or not, is actually the intern. The intern is based off of one of the characters from the book, Carlos. He is a cinnamon bun. I love him. And like, he has one of my favorite abilities, which is I brought snacks. Which is a nice for anybody who's ever played any sort of tabletop RPG. You all have that one person who shows up to games and is like, "Don't worry, guys, I might be late, but I brought snacks."
Huzzah! Snacks for everyone!
Yeah, it's like when I played the Monster of the Week, one time I played as the just civilian class, and that was just so much fun. Because
It's a
it's
blast.
similar stuff to that, where it's just like, oh, other civilians are more likely to believe you, and I just played as like a really stupid janitor.
I love it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. How did you come up, like, did you just start building different card types, and then those numbers formed, or did you put a goal, like, I want to have 7 and 8, because it makes 13, and that's a fun number?
Actually, no, I
Or not
did
13,
not.
'cause I don't know how math works.
I put it together mostly going first off of characters from my book. So I took those and I put them into what classes they would be. So like the charlatan is straight up like a paranormal TV like host. Like he's I won't say the name. He is essentially a well-known host,
Yeah.
which anybody who's seen any ghost shows can probably already imagine who it is. But that's also like a character in the book, Jackson Cohen. So that's sort of what I did, was I went first through those and then went through the ones that I would know would be appearing later in the series. And then I just sort of thought, like, okay, when I think about like psychics, who am I missing? Like, what are the kind of abilities that I can imagine people wanting to play? There's also another heavy influence in my whole Deittman Files universe. It is the Stephen King miniseries from 1999. That's when it was filmed. It aired in 2001, I believe. It's a 4-episode miniseries. I own 2 copies of the DVDs so that if I ever lose one, I have another one because it's so hard to find.
Nice.
But it was Stephen King's version of kind of Haunting of Hill House. He had been asked to create like Shirley Jackson's, Haunting of Hill House. And he said, I don't want to do that because I don't know if I could do it justice. Like, I don't want to recreate that. So instead what he did was he took another book, which was called The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, and turned that into a miniseries. But if you know Haunting of Hill House and you know Shirley Jackson, you can see all of the influences in the miniseries. I saw that. I was 11 years old when I saw that, and that was one of the things that like seriously defined me. So some of the other psychics that I saw in that, other investigators that I saw in that, sort of made their way into the book.
What was the miniseries? Sorry.
Rose Red. Yeah, 2001, I believe, is the series. It's really hard to find, and I've only been able to find DVDs of it. And like I said, I have multiple copies just in case. I watch it multiple times a year. Like, it is my favorite thing. It is, when asked my favorite movie, it's that in Clue.
Oh, Clue is so good.
I was seeing online recently, like, what was the first horror movie you ever watched?
Oh. The earliest things that I watched were movies that I can remember. They were series, sort of. I grew up on Tales from the Crypt and X
Of
Files.
course.
And when I say I grew up on that, I mean literally, like, my dad was working on his master's. He would sit me in front of the TV with a beanbag and a bottle, and he would be watching Tales from the Crypt and X Files. So that's what I watched way past my bedtime, as far too young to be watching that stuff.
Yeah,
And that is why I am how I am today.
It's like a family business kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, I mean, he's not a big fiction fan. He does not love, I think, a lot of this stuff. Does not appreciate it like I do. But he just lets me do my thing. And then when I asked him to narrate, he said, "Okay, I guess."
I guess.
But I will say, I don't think he made the class tonight, but I will say that he decided to go on and start taking voice acting classes. He loved it that much. So
nice.
That's
really,
cool.
yeah, like, it's truly, like, in the end, it has been a great thing for my friends and family. We've found a lot of interests we didn't know we had.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get out of your comfort zone, or you don't know what you're gonna find otherwise.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd say I'm pretty different as I am now compared to before I ever started doing any podcasting stuff.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, it's about putting yourself out there.
And if we're talking about what was the first horror type stuff, like Xiaber, what was your answer to your own question then? I'm curious.
I'm not really sure if it actually was the first horror movie. I mean, like, I read Goosebumps, so there was that. But, like, the first horror movie I can remember watching is When Darkness Falls, which is...
Oh, yeah. Evil Tooth Fairy.
terrified me of the darkness. Like, I remember the first time we watched it, and then, like, my dog needed to go outside, and so my dad's all like, "Hey," to my sister, go take the dog out. She goes, "Are you kidding me?"
No.
Oh, okay, hold on. Now we're backtracking here, but I can't actually think the very first movies that I can think of. Two of them, which scared the crap out of me. One helped form my dislike of sci-fi. Event Horizon, which I stand by as being one of the absolute, like, scariest movies I've ever seen, and I have no desire to see it again. And I know just now, like, sci-fi overall, don't love it, and I think it goes back to that. And then the other one was one I actually had to go back and rewatch much later. It was called The Gate. I don't know if anybody's seen that. It's essentially, if I recall, a couple of kids are left out home alone and accidentally open a portal to hell in their basement.
Oh.
And then, like, there is some really, like, graphic scenes of, like, kids with faces melting off and eyes popping out and just being, like, dragged to hell. And then I think in the end it all just gets fixed, like nothing ever happened. I don't really remember. But that one actually, like, I'm pretty sure I was, like, 6 when I saw that, and it scarred me.
That reminds me of how, like, some people have watched, like, the Attack of the Tomato or
Killer
something.
Tomatoes.
Killer Tomatoes. And that, like, made them honestly afraid of tomatoes. And just like, really? I mean, I haven't seen it, but...
Oh, man. That's hilarious. I love it.
Like, some people watch horror movies, and it just completely destroys them.
Jaws 2.
Well, Jaws
Okay.
definitely caused people to just be terrified of sharks when they don't necessarily need to be as much.
I know that it's irrational, but I now have thalassophobia, and it is tracked completely back to seeing that at far too early of an age.
Yeah.
That and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, love it. Big fan.
Nope.
That-
I'm a scaredy cat.
Yeah, that's,
that's...
pretty
Mild
dark.
and dumb and silly.
It's pretty dark.
Are you afraid? No, I mean, going back, I did one of those things where I saw it on streaming, and I was like, all right, let's see. Like, it can't be nearly as bad as I remember. And I watched it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty goofy, actually. But
I loved it, though.
terrified me as a kid.
That was, like, the highlight of my day, coming home and watching Are You Afraid of the Dark? You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, So Weird, Eerie, Indiana.
I don't know, watching
some of my
Goosebumps
favorites.
compared to reading Goosebumps, it was just all like, why was this ever scary?
Yeah.
It's way better when you're imagining it yourself.
Yeah.
Watching
Things that
watching shows, though, as a kid, like, it's truly formative. Like, I think about it now. Did any of you ever watch Scariest Places on Earth?
No.
Maybe.
That is another one that I cannot find, and I would pay good money to get that. Like as a DVD set. It was hosted by, I want to say, Linda Blair. They used to play it like on ABC. They would do reruns around Halloween. But they haven't done it in like years, probably because they're old now. But it was hosted by Linda Blair, and it was narrated by the woman from the Poltergeist. I can't think of her name, but you know the woman.
Zelda Rubinstein.
like the
Yes, yeah, the high pitched voice. Yes,
Yeah.
it was narrated by her. And Scariest Places on Earth would take a family and like plop them down in a haunted location, and it supposedly for like a night or a couple nights or something. They would just sort of leave them there with some tasks to do, and they'd be like, okay, now split up and like go to these different places and do
Oh,
these
gosh.
chants, and be
Oh,
sure
boy.
to ring this bell at the end or you're gonna get haunted, you know. And
That's-
I can remember watching the premiere. I was in my grandparents' basement. My sister and I were in like princess dress-up gowns in the dark in this, you know, dingy unfinished basement that had a TV in the corner. And we watched the premiere of it, and it actually that explains it, right? It actually took place. The premiere took place in Chillingham Castle, which, as I just said a little while ago, is part of my basis for my second book. Right? This is all coming together
Very
now.
formative,
Why?
that's all.
Yes, very formative. Chillingham Castle. And one of the scenes at the end always stuck with me. So this family, right? They have to go and like they'd separate and have to go into individual rooms where all of these cameras are. They'd like say a ritual and blow out a candle and try to run away and make sure to do it right.
Freak themselves out, basically.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then I think the first time they're like, you didn't do it right, so you need to do it again. So they
Oh.
go back and do it again. And they leave, and then they like play the credits, and then right at the end of the credits or something, they show a clip of the room supposedly after the family's left, and it is this like wardrobe door just like slowly creaking open. And that scene has stuck in my mind for I don't know, 21 years. Like
I
I'm
always
pretty
hate
sure
post-credit scenes to horror movies. Like when Darkness Falls, we get through the credits and then it shows a kid in bed having lost his final tooth, and I just like, nope, I am leaving.
Even
Love
just
it.
hearing you talk about that, sitting in this fully lit room, I've got like goosebumps and I'm freaking out.
love it,
Hate
love it.
I'm so scared. I do not do good with horror things.
That set me down the path, and I have been to, as I said, I've been to some of the most haunted places in the world, supposedly. Not supposedly that I've been there, supposedly that they're haunted.
Supposedly been there.
I have been there. I just don't know if you could say some of them are super haunted. Allegedly. And I've been there, and you know, I've traveled great distances to do it. I have so much fun. I have so much fun doing it.
Yeah, follow your passion.
Yeah.
Just leave me behind.
We'll watch
Say
from a
that.
distance.
It's really not that scary. But I could talk about some of those during our Phasmophobia screen. I don't want to take up too much time here going into my stories, but I've got stories.
Oh boy. Now I think that following the things that you love is definitely very important. So, like, again, all power to you. Not for me.
I'm telling you, ghost hunting, a lot of ghost hunting is sitting in the dark and saying to nobody, is anybody there? Like, I'm not,
Alright.
and you get nothing.
It's completely irrational. Like, I personally don't really believe in any of the ghosts and all that stuff. But I there's always that niggling, little doubt in the back of the head, like, but what if?
Yeah, there's like a local abandoned hospital that's haunted and stuff, and
Is it
people.
Haunted Hillview Manor?
No.
Where are you? I don't know where you're located.
But yeah,
not gonna
people
dox you
talk
here.
about like going there for like tours or just sneaking in and all these things. And I'm just all like, I'm good, no thank you.
I mean,
Love
I'll
it.
believe in it, but why risk it?
Like especially
Yeah.
like hospitals, which like if that kind of stuff is real, a hospital is not a place you want to go to.
My favorite spot to go ghost hunting is Haunted Hillview Manor, which was a hospital.
Yeah.
It is in
Yep.
Newcastle, Pennsylvania. I have, as I said, I've been all over the freaking world, and the best evidence that I've ever had was Hillview Manor. Like consistently, I have been there at this point more times than I can count, and I consistently get good evidence there.
Yeah. Hospitals.
Newcastle!
Yep. Just outside Pittsburgh, basically.
Yeah, just outside of Pittsburgh. So if anybody's looking for recommendations, that's the number one recommendation I've got for you.
It's like similarly, the hospital my mom works at, there was like a case of a nun somehow being decapitated by an elevator, and so now
gosh.
like people have
Ew.
apparently sensed the presence of that nun there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
So that's some
do
Final
people still use that
Destination.
elevator, or
I remember hearing a story from a friend who worked at a hotel, and they got on the elevator and pressed the button for the lobby, and ended up in the sub-basement, and they were like,
Oh no.
uh-oh.
Yeah, that's horror movie energy.
yeah, like my wife and I went on the Tower of Terror at Disney World, and
Yes.
that was amazing. Like, I mean, it was obviously supposed to be more spooky than the Haunted Mansion, but like, just not even.
Have you seen the movie?
I have, yeah.
My sister bought it for me last year because that was one of my favorite movies.
It was great.
Nice.
And yeah, like the most terrifying part of the ride wasn't even the actual dropping and stuff. It was like getting to the drop.
Anticipation.
Yeah.
Yep. The build up, anticipation, the imagining what's coming are all of the scariest parts of anything, which is frankly is why I think a lot of the ghost hunting stuff is so scary, because you're just sitting in the dark talking to nothing, yes, but you're talking to nothing going, what's going to happen?
Well, that's like why horror games are
that's
so
fair.
scary, because like, like it's just a game. Even if the monster catches me, whatever, but like it's still scary playing them.
Anticipation.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
Like Phasmophobia.
Oh boy. Yep. I guarantee you, if you're listening to the podcast, there's probably a VOD that's been pulled. It'll probably be on our YouTube. That is basically just me crying in a corner somewhere.
Oh, I really hope that we get a lot of VODs out of this.
I'm not. I'm doing it for you, Xiaber, because you've been pestering for Phasmophobia for a while, and
Cool.
Alexandra here, it's right up your alley. So.
Sure is.
Yeah, I'll just stay in the truck and you guys can go in.
No. I'll do man in the van. It's fine. I'll take the hit. I'll be the one that.
That means you're going to put the equipment in, right?
If by
You're
in,
going to pay for all of the equipment and put it in if you're going to be the one that stays in the van, right? Right?
if by in you mean he's just going to like throw it inside and then dash out.
Here you go. Bye.
It's like, sorry, you broke it when you threw it. Can we get another one?
Replace it. You're the equipment now. Go. Oh no.
Yeah, I
Those-
imagine I'm
I used to
probably
play
going
with my
to
little
die.
brother, and he was our meat shield. We would send him. We had our designated person, and it was always him.
The
Go talk.
sacrifice.
Yep, go talk. Which I will tell you a fantastic story about sacrifices and ghost hunting during Phasmophobia.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the meat shield.
Oh yeah, you'll be the.
Yeah, I'm leaving you behind. I'm just gonna tell you right now. I'm not staying. For a sign of a haunt, I'm out of there, finding a closet to hide in, and telling you to go find your own.
I mean, most likely I won't even notice what's going on, and they'll be like, "Wait, where did you go?"
Zyber will be wandering around, and then we'll be like, "Man, Zyber hasn't talked for a. There's a corpse here.
Hmm.
Well, speaking of games, I think it's about time that we just talk a bit about what we've played or watched or whatever in the last week.
Are we rolling into minutes recap on Zyber's decision here?
Yeah. I mean, that was great conversations. We can continue in Phasmophobia.
Fair. Well, who do you want to go first since you introduced the segment?
Well, apparently you two have done similar stuff, so...
Yep, minutes recap recently. I sat down and I watched up to at least the day of recording. I did not watch the recent releases, but all the others of She-Hulk and the House of the Dragon shows. Honestly, I mean, I've been enjoying She-Hulk.
Oh,
a fair
absolutely.
bit. It's been
I've
great.
been loving it.
That's good.
Yeah. It's doing the exact thing that I have loved about a lot of the MCU, which is taking superhero and a genre and mashing them together. So it is Like, and I hope they stick to this and continue leaning heavily into it basically just being a lawyer show, a law procedural show that happens to also be centered around superhero cases. Because I don't want to watch just She-Hulk running around fighting things. I want to watch She-Hulk, attorney at law.
Yeah, because like She-Hulk is a lawyer who happens to also be a superhero, while Daredevil is a superhero who also happens to be a lawyer.
Yeah, and it works better for She-Hulk because the focus is on the lawyering, not on the daredeviling for Daredevil.
Yeah, I've heard like actual lawyers / attorneys have issues with the show. It's like, well, okay, have you seen any hospital shows?
Yeah. Have you watched most other law shows? It's not supposed to be accurate because real court cases are boring.
So the most interesting thing is that there's a giant green woman here.
And it has definitely been fun and leaning into that genre superhero film. So it's a lawyer superhero thing.
Yeah, I still need to watch it.
I've been really enjoying it. Obviously, not to like get on any soapboxes, but I probably have a little bit of a different perspective about it than you guys do. But one of the things I have a friend on my Facebook who I'm that old. Who he likes to put out his little reviews of things, and he had said something essentially like that this most recent episode that I saw was very like embarrassment humor based, and I was a little worried going into it because I'm like, man, like I don't really love cringe humor. Like I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this episode, but I watched it and I'm like, I don't know if this is particularly cringy humor as much as it is lightly poking fun at essentially a day in the life of being a professional woman sometimes. Like this is not that cringy because this is real life. But I think that there are a lot of things that from the female perspective, She-Hulk is getting very right. Absolutely, and I've been really appreciating it because it's very relatable.
Yeah, and that's nice and awesome to hear because again, obviously Xiaber and I have particular perspectives. So.
Right, and hey, everyone's gonna have that, but like some of the stuff that they've touched on, even if it is very very quick, one sort of line drop, it's pretty real. So I've just appreciated it.
That's really nice. Good. Like I always enjoy. I enjoy watching shows that more emphasize towards people that's not me. And so it always annoys me when people are just all like, it's not a straight white man that's the protagonist. How can I relate? And I'm always just all like, well, if you had any empathy.
Or imagination at all.
I remember they did the same exact thing with Miss Marvel, and I watched it. I'm just like it's more childish because they're kids, but otherwise it was a great show, in my opinion.
Yeah. Fantastic. It was easily anything. I mean, I'm going to say it was better than things that you would find on like the CW.
Oh yeah,
but the childishness had nothing to do with like their choice in protagonist as much as it was simply there was a certain setting and a certain writing style that they used, and that is how you write for a younger audience. That's it.
Yeah,
simple.
It's like when have you last seen kids? Like that's how kids are.
That's kids. Yeah. Deal with it. Sorry, kids. The House of the Dragon, on the other hand,
not for kids.
Is that the Game of Thrones?
That is the Game of Thrones like prequel series. It has been a show that I was watching.
I like it. I actually like it a lot.
So is it different people than who did Game of Thrones?
Then? Yes.
It's like 240 some years before Game of Thrones.
No, I mean,
I believe the writers. I believe it is an entirely different crew.
Different showrunners. I think different writers.
I believe so.
I know Germ is a little bit more closely involved with the production than he was near the end of Game of Thrones.
For various reasons.
For various reasons, yes.
I mean, who knows if he wanted to try to write the finishing stuff.
He needs to finish the books, is what he needs to.
He does,
yeah. But with this one, since it's going back to essentially source material that is completed, like they have a pretty solid roadmap, I think. there are a lot of things that I have been enjoying myself about it. I can totally understand how it doesn't appeal to everybody. But there are stark differences, no pun intended, on the way like Game of Thrones was filmed and written versus how House of Dragon is filmed and written. And
Absolutely.
a lot of my major issues that I had, and it just goes back to personal taste, you know. I'm sure people might listen to this and be like, of course, she's someone who doesn't like the real grittiness, but like, there were times where I'm like, was that really necessary? Like, did you need to put that in there, or did you just want to?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I feel like House of the Dragon took a lot of those moments and they decided to say, let's be a little bit more tasteful. Like, did we need this? No. You know what? It's not going to actually add to the story. So why pad it? Why pad the episodes?
It feels like, one, they are being a little bit more discretionary so that they can, when they add the things that are supposed to make you uncomfortable, you can tell that they're there to make you uncomfortable. There are these
like that thing in the first episode. There was I don't know about you, but there was I had to actually mute. Like I could not watch and listen to that. Yeah. And at first I was very upset. I'm being intentionally vague for spoilers. Like I don't want to spoil anything, but if you watch the episode, you're gonna figure it out.
What the heck?
Oh, I think he's
Welcome
haunted.
back. Okay.
But that scene in particular, I was very not
stressing.
Yeah, I was not thrilled based on, you know, who I am, as you can imagine. But I did read some interviews after the fact where apparently they took that scene, showed it to a bunch of women, and they said, thoughts? And there were women that said, honestly, I think you could be a little bit more brutal to show the accuracy, like what it would like the real life. And they're like, we don't know if we want to push it anymore. And women were like, yeah, all right, I get it. But other than that, this is very real.
Glad they didn't, by the way.
I know, but like I guess they said, you know, they wanted to make a statement about you know, the importance of a woman getting to have an opinion on that because of what can happen. And I'm like, after reading that, I actually appreciated the scene a lot more because I went into it with the mentality that they were going to do what Game of Thrones did, which was we're going to put this in there for shock value.
And that's what I appreciate about House of Dragon is that the things that are in there purposefully and not just for the spectacle.
Yeah. But
the thing, if something is in there and it's making you uncomfortable, it's because the show designers designed it to be uncomfortable, not because they had no, like, self-awareness of it being in there.
Exactly. So yeah, I recommend it. It might not be for everybody. Some people might still be a little burned out with the Game of Thrones stuff, which I get that, but I recommend.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Smith has definitely been killing it.
Yes.
Matt Smith is in it.
Oh yeah, Matt Smith is in it. Yeah.
And here I was thinking of watching Morbius instead.
You can. This is much better, honestly.
If you want good Matt Smith, you could also watch Nine Soho instead.
I do want to see that eventually.
It's really good. Yeah. Sadly, I'm not sure if it's sadly, but I never watched Game of Thrones, so I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. It's like there's also like the Rings of Powers. I
haven't got to that yet.
Yeah.
I've been waiting. I'm as much as I am a super big Tolkien fan in general, I think I'd prefer with Rings of Power to wait and sit down and binge it front to back.
Agreed. Watching the whole series, we'll be watching just like, you know, 2 movies.
Yeah. It doesn't strike me as the type of thing that I need to hit episodically, whereas like She-Hulk is very episodic by its nature. House of the Dragon, because of the way that it's doing adapting a book of histories, it is doing this time frame jump, this time frame jump. So it also has that sort of episodic. Obviously, there's like narrative through lines, but it's much easier to do week to week with that one.
Yeah, I've actually heard that like Netflix is thinking about releasing episodes weekly or whatever instead of having it all released at once like they've been doing.
It's
Guess in order to make people keep subscriptions.
I mean, that's one thing, yeah, but like everyone else is doing it because of that, and also it gets people to talk about the whole show instead of just, the ending or something right as it's released.
yeah, it keeps the interest and the engagement high to do
Yeah.
it week to week, which is, as you said, Xiber, a thing that a lot of the streaming things are doing. However, my turnaround on that is you're still gonna run into people like me, for instance, who are just gonna be like, nah, I'll wait and binge it all at the end instead of you stringing it along with a subscription fee for 2-3 months.
Yeah, that's fine. But like I really like being able to watch multiple shows at once, and when you got the binge style, like I'm currently watching the anime Hunter x Hunter, but like I want to watch She-Hulk, but oh man, I really want to finish this thing before I move on kind of stuff.
And then you feel like, man, I'm a little bit out of the loop now because,
Yeah.
what I just saw, people already saw a while ago.
And, I already paused watching Batman the Animated Series because I finished 2 seasons of it, and I was like, oh, I really should try watching something else.
Yeah, I've been doing a slow burn binge, quote unquote, a slow burn run through at least of Doctor Who, starting from the very beginning of New Who with Eccleston.
Okay, I was going to say, if you watch the entire thing, it might take you a few years.
No, I started with New Who with Eccleston, and I just actually hit Matt Smith's 11th Doctor. But that has been nice, because that's the trade-off is if you don't want to binge it, you have something like Doctor Who or Hunter x Hunter. It's always something that you can throw on at any given point. Whereas if I'm sitting here like, man, I could go for some She-Hulk. Next episode doesn't come out until next week. I can't just throw it on. I've already watched these recently. There's less option. I don't know. There's a give and take to all the different.
It's not less option if there's a bunch of shows releasing at the same time doing that.
Well, fair. And what's with all these shows releasing on the same days? That's annoying.
Well,
yeah, the intentional competition.
I know Disney at least tries to release their own shows on different days. There's I think actually Miss Marvel was released on the same day as some other show, and that caused issues, and so they learned their lesson.
Yeah, you don't want to compete with yourself, but there are 7 days. Not everything needs to come out on a Wednesday.
Wednesdays are so good, apparently.
I guess. I don't know. That's what I've been doing. I went just this past weekend. A friend had a birthday party, and we hung out and sang karaoke.
Nice.
At his house. So that was fun.
I've always wanted to do that. I know in a city nearby, there's a karaoke hibachi bar place. I just I need to go there someday.
That sounds... Yeah, this was literally just... He had a mic and a little amp with YouTube karaoke in his living room.
That works.
Oh yeah, it worked. It was fun. We had a good time.
My school's after prom party, they had karaoke, and that was great. My friend and I sang Dream On, because we're just what's the most obnoxious song we can try singing?
There you go. Have you done any karaoke stuff before, Alexandra?
Once at Songwa. Let me just say I don't have a lot of memories of that night, but I guess I placed, which means the competition was very bad. I am a notoriously bad singer. And then out in Cincinnati, I don't know if it's still there, but there was a karaoke bar called, I want to say it was called Tokyo Kitty. Where you could do karaoke and you could get your drinks delivered through a hole in the ceiling, it would come down on a tray.
Nice.
It was super cool.
That's awesome.
I was out there right before I went ghost hunting at Bobby Mackey's, followed by a couple days later I was at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and so I stopped for a night in Cincinnati and visited Tokyo Kitty.
Fun.
I mean, the point of karaoke is definitely not to actually sing well. You kind of want to purposely sound bad.
Yeah, okay, but one of my best friends, I am godmother to her children. She went to school for music, and she's a music teacher, and she can sing very well. So I've always been surrounded by, people like her, which, just reinforces how bad I am.
Twist the knife a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe you're actually really good when you don't remember it.
Yeah, no, I really don't think so. I think everybody at that point in the night was all just really bad. Really
See,
bad.
you keep comparing yourself to music majors, which means when you compare yourself to normal people.
No. One time as a kid, I was singing in the car, and my dad looked at me and was like, "Don't ever quit your day job."
Please, honey, please stop. I can only take so much.
Please stop. Well, he could also. My dad was also always a really good singer, so like it just, I just, yeah, no, not for me.
That's sad. I have a friend who cannot keep key whatsoever, and I still gladly belt along to songs with him.
It's really just for fun. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Xiaber? Anything good for your minutes recap before we wrap up
Well,
here?
so far, I've just been playing Splatoon 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles. I finally finished Xenoblade Chronicles.
About time.
Well, it took me like around 85 hours, and it was crazy because I thought I was close to finishing it when I got back to it because there was just a long break I had. Turns out I was only at the halfway mark because the final boss, I had to be around level 80 to fight. And most RPGs, you need to be around like level 50 to 60, so it just kept going on, and I was really shocked. But I was trying to do as much side quests as I could, but then I got to a certain event, and all of a sudden, all the side quests I haven't done yet required being like 85 to 99 to fight enemies. So I was just like, well, I guess I'll just go finish the story. And actually, so in Xenoblade Chronicles, if an enemy is above 5 levels your level, you usually miss your attacks. And so, I got to the point of no return where they specifically said, are you sure you want to continue? And so I made a save before it. And I fought this regular boss. Turns out he was 1 level above that 5 level limit, so I had to go back to my save because even though I died and it had me in like an area, I couldn't go back. So I leveled up like twice, beat him, and then I got to the final boss, and the final boss was an even higher level, but had question marks as its like level over the health bar. I'm just like, well, I don't even know what level I need to be. And so I died twice, and it's all like, do you want to go to casual mode? I go, yeah, sure. I'm right here. I'm not going back. And I beat it.
That's fair.
It's a great story. The side quest, because of a certain event, kind of felt irrelevant when it got to that part of the story. Because, a lot of the side quests were, there's 5 major towns, and you're, growing your affinity with the entire towns by talking to everyone and helping them. And, yeah, I don't know. But it was really great. I'm excited to finally get to 2, even though 3 just came out, so...
You'll work your way up eventually. Now, what have been your thoughts on Splatoon 3? Because I know you're a huge Splatoon fan in general.
So 100% the story in one sitting, which I stayed up till 2 o'clock to do that. But it was so great. It finally gave lore about what happened to the humans, because Splatoon takes place in a post-apocalyptic, way post where the apocalypse stuff happened. And now there's sea creatures that are acting like mammals, basically, on land. And so it finally gave, more backstory about how that happened in the story mode. And then as for the regular multiplayer stuff, I absolutely love what they've done with the ranked mode. So originally, ranked mode, you have 4 different ranked modes, each with their own ranking. You have to level up by playing the certain mode. This time they made it where it's just a single rank. No matter which mode you're playing, it's all accumulated. And also, so you can do a open lobby where you are able to join friends to be a party together. If you win a match, you get 8 points. If you lose a match, you lose 2 points. But it takes 150 points to get to the next ranking. So
there's a fair bit of...
Yeah, it takes a lot. And then there's the series where it costs 55 points of your rank to enter. And then, based on how good you do, the goal is to win 5 matches, and if you lose 3 matches during that, then you're out. And so based on how many matches you win, you get points back. I played it twice, and I was able to win 3 times each time, and I gained a profit of 100 points. So...
Seems worth it.
Yeah, you're not able to do it with friends in series, but all right, so if I want to play with friends, I go to the open mode where even if I lose a ton... it's not that bad. I only lose 2 points per game. And so that's just like, it's really nice, because in Splatoon 2, ranked mode was you try to fill up a bar by winning, and if the bar fills up, you go to the next rank. If you have this hidden value of losing points, the bar cracks and eventually breaks and goes down a level. So I definitely prefer this new method.
Yeah, hidden values are not fun for that kind of stuff.
No. It's because, like, the hidden value, it was based on if the game thought you should have won the match, then you lose way more points compared to if the game is all like, maybe you will lose this match, so we're not going to punish you too bad if you do.
So overall, would you recommend Splatoon 3?
Yeah, like, I think it's really good. The only downside currently is just that there's not that many weapons currently. They just have one of each kind of weapon, but eventually they'll be releasing varieties with different subs and specials. So, like, if you like a certain weapon, but, you hate the bomb it's with, well, maybe they'll release the same kind of weapon with a different bomb later on. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Variation.
But the new maps for the game, I do absolutely love all those maps. They're really fun.
Nice. All right. Well, I guess before we head out here, the final thing we should do is ask Alexandra, where can people find you?
Sure. So Echoes and Ashes is on Amazon. You can get it in both ebook and paperback. If you ever happen to see me at a trade show, you can probably get a hardback from me. Earth and Ashes, it'll be the same thing. You will be able to get the ebook and the paperback on Halloween through Amazon. The Deittman Files tabletop RPG is available via PDF through drivethrurpg.com. Currently, the hardbacks are actually the only print versions, and you can only get them through me at events. For anybody who's in the greater Pittsburgh area, I will actually be at the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo the first weekend of October. So if you have a strong desire to get the hardback copy of the tabletop RPG, swing by my booth there. The Deittman Files podcast is available on, as I've said before, most major podcasting networks. Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Google, Pandora, you name it. As long as it's not Apple, it's probably there. Someday. But yeah, you can always feel free to reach out to us. We're at thedeittmanfiles.com. And if you go to our website, we actually have a link to our Discord community there. So we do periodically drop some extra things like pre-made character sheets that we've created, extra character arts, little modules and scenarios. And every now and again, we will actually run some online RPGs. So if that's your thing, maybe come by and visit us.
I'm glad that you mentioned a convention that you'll be at, because my first thought was do I just need to keep going to haunted areas in hopes that you'll be there with random hardcovers in your backpack?
You know what? You say that, but I'm getting to the point where I do just keep some in my trunk just in case. One time I kept my box of misprints in my car, and we went ghost hunting, and we were in an open air area where we needed a fire, and we didn't have any kindling, but I did have a box of misprint books. So got some great photos out of it.
That's pretty good. All right.
Well, definitely thank you for joining us. Listeners, you should totally check that out. I know I'm definitely going to check it out.
Thank you so much. I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It was a lot of fun having you.
I just said that.
Shut up.